All right, let's dive right in. When we think about inheritance, our minds usually jump straight to who gets what. But in the Islamic tradition, it's viewed very differently. It's less about just dividing up a person's wealth, and much more about fulfilling a final, sacred trust, settling their affairs with dignity and justice before anything else.
So, to get right to the heart of it, let's start with a really direct question. When a Muslim passes away, who has the first claim to their property? I think the answer is going to surprise you.
Because, it's not the children, it's not the spouse, or any other relatives. Before any heir receives a single penny, Islamic law lays out this really clear, non-negotiable set of obligations that has to be settled first. This whole system has a name, Faraidh.
So, what is Faraidh? Well, think of it as the detailed, divinely guided framework for all things related to Islamic inheritance. It's all rooted directly in the Quran, and its whole purpose is to leave very little room for arguments or confusion. It's all about ensuring a just and orderly process to settle a person's final affairs.
Okay, so this brings us to the core of how Faraidh actually works. It operates on a structured, four-tier priority system. The best way to think about it is like a roadmap for the estate that absolutely must be followed in a very specific order.
And here is that exact sequence. This four-step process is the absolute heart and soul of Faraidh. First up, funeral expenses. Second, settling all debts. Third, carrying out any final bequest, which is called a wasiyah. And only then, at the very end of the line, does whatever's left get distributed to the legal heirs. This order, it's completely unbreakable.
So let's see how this all plays out in practice, okay? Let's start with those first two priorities. They're kind of grouped together because they focus on honoring the deceased dignity and settling all their worldly obligations before anyone else gets anything.
What's really striking here is the immediate emphasis on dignity. The very first claim on an entire estate isn't for debts, it isn't for family, it's for the funeral. This covers all the necessary costs, from the ritual washing and shrouding to the transportation and even the burial plot. It's all about ensuring a respectful and proper farewell.
And this is the crucial point, right? These costs are totally non-negotiable. They have to be paid from the estate before any creditor gets paid, and certainly before any heir inherits a single thing. This just underscores the profound value placed on human dignity, even in death. Once the funeral is covered, the very next priority is settling debts. And this is comprehensive. We're talking about religious debts, like any unpaid obligatory charity or zakat, as well as all personal debts, loans, bills, anything and everything owed to other people or institutions.
And this really gets to the core of why this step is so critical. It's about way more than just money. Settling debts is seen as absolutely crucial for a person's spiritual well-being and for their honor. Fulfilling these commitments is actually considered a more pressing obligation than even providing for your own family members.
All right, so after making sure the deceased has been buried with dignity and all of their debts are cleared, the system allows for one final personal act. This third tier is all about the deceased's opportunity to leave behind a charitable legacy. This is called the wasiyah, or a bequest. Basically, it's a documented final wish that allows a person to give a portion of their estate to a cause they really care about, say a mosque or an orphanage, or even to an individual who isn't a prescribed legal heir.
But, and this is a really big but, there's a very important limit here. The wasiyah is capped at a maximum of 1/3 of the estate. And that's 1/3 of what's left after the funeral costs and debts are paid. This means a minimum of 2/3 of the estate is always reserved for the legal heirs.
And you can see the wisdom behind this 1/3 rule, can't you? It's all about balance. It allows a person to leave a meaningful charitable gift, but it also protects the core inheritance that's reserved for the legal heirs. It makes sure they can't be accidentally or intentionally disinherited.
So after all these other obligations have been met, we finally arrive at the fourth and final tier of the Faraidh system, distributing whatever is left to the legal heirs. So it is absolutely worth saying this one last time, because this is probably the single most important takeaway. The heirs get their inheritance only after the funeral is paid for, after every single debt is settled, and after that 1/3 bequest is executed, if there is one. The family's inheritance actually comes last in line. Now, because this process is so structured, it's often misunderstood. So let's take a second and clear up a couple of common misconceptions, just to make sure the practical side of this is crystal clear.
Okay, here's a big one. The idea that the family can just agree to do things differently. Maybe pay an heir before paying a creditor. But Islamic law is very clear on this. That's just not possible. The four-tier system is considered divine guidance, it's fixed, and it cannot be altered by family agreement.
Another common mistake is thinking that small, informal debts, maybe a few dollars owed to a friend, can just be overlooked. But Islamic law doesn't make that distinction. To protect the integrity and honor of the deceased, all debts, no matter how small, have to be settled from the estate.
So when you step back and you look at this whole system, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway? Well, it's that Faraidh is designed not just as a financial process, but as a really profound system of justice. And you can see right here how its purpose goes so far beyond just the heirs. First, it serves the deceased by preserving their dignity and their honor. Then it serves creditors by ensuring there's financial justice. And finally, it serves the wider community by upholding trust and enabling charity.
And that's really the essence of it. Faraidh isn't just a set of rules. It's a complete, holistic system. It's designed to perfectly balance our human needs, our social obligations to one another, and our spiritual duties, all in one go.
To put a final point on it, the source material describes it perfectly. It's, and I'm quoting here, a system designed to serve multiple stakeholders while maintaining justice and spiritual integrity. It's a beautiful summary.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. In a world that is so often focused on just accumulating and passing down wealth, how does this ancient wisdom, a system that prioritizes dignity, debt, and charity over inheritance, how does that challenge our modern ideas about what truly defines a person's legacy?